Hi guys, I hope you all are well. Today, in this video, we are going to talk about the news that have created a lot of buzz in the market. So let's start with it. The first is the Bumble IPO, the female founder behind the dating app making market history. When Bumble founder and CEO Whitney Wolf Herd launched the dating app in 2014, she wanted to solve a real world 21st century relationship problem: how to find love for the millions of women just waiting around for men. So she turned traditional dating knobs upside down, creating an app launched by women, guided by women, and for women that defied age old gender norms by letting the women make the first move. Nearly 7 years later, the company that prides itself on its female first approach and which soared in its opening trade on Thursday. After raising $2.2 billion in an initial public offering that exceeded expectations and valued the firm at over $7 billion, has garnered a devoted following. As of the third quarter of 2020, it boasted nearly 42 million active users looking to find love with the swipe of a finger. Now, Bumble also can boast about becoming a member of a small but growing list of female founded companies to IPO, which already includes Stitch Fix founder Katrina Lake and the Real Reals Julie Bingbrith. Every single day we have just gotten up in the morning and focused on building an experience around women. For women, Wolfhard told CNBC's Scott Ellie on Thursday morning. When women are safe and happy, everyone else follows, and it creates a better relationship for everyone. Corporate America and the technology sector have come under fire for the lack of diversity in boardroom and power building positions. Just 6% of companies in the S&P 500 have a female CEO, including General Motors, Oracle, and Ulta Beauty. But they're still in short supply, although the number doubled between 2007 and 17, according to Pew Research Center. Nasdaq, where Bumble is listing its shares, recently filed a proposal with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, which would require all companies in the new US Nasdaq exchange to share diversity statistics pertaining to their board of directors. Venture capital firms with a focus on finding female-led startups have emerged in recent years, including Female Founders Fund, Golden Seeds, and Intel's Capital Diversity Fund, which focus on underrepresented tech entrepreneurs. While organizations include always have emerged to fight these inequities. There are more than 20 female founders to take companies public, but the venture capital IPO market have a long way to go, as funding to women-led startups hit a three-year low in 2020. The next one is IKEA branches out in consumer banking. IKEA Stores owner Inga Krupp said on Thursday it had agreed to buy a 49% stake in financial services partner Ikano Bank as part of a push to boost its services offering. The bank is owned by Ikano Group, which was spun off from IKEA in 1988 to the sons of the furniture brand's founder Ingvar Kamprad. It provides financial services to IKEA shoppers in 8 markets as well as other consumer banking services. A spokesperson at Inca's investment arm Inca Investments said lending to IKEA shoppers accounted for about a quarter of the bank's total business. Full financial terms of the deal were not disclosed. Inca said it was acquiring the stake through the issue of new shares by Cano Bank, with the option to obtain the remaining shares at a later date. It is larger than previous acquisition done by Inga Investments, the spokesperson said. Inga said its part ownership in the bank would maximize the potential of the existing relationship it has with Econo Bank, at adding that the digital financial services to IKEA shoppers would be available online and in stores. This is a decisive step into financial services, a core part of Inga's group journey to help make IKEA more affordable, accessible, and sustainable. The next one is Bitcoin blows past 48,000 to hit record high as major financial firms warm to crypto. Bitcoin's price soared past the $48,000 level for a second time this week, hitting a fresh all-time high as Bank of New York Mellon said it would provide custody services for digital assets. The world's most valuable cryptocurrency hit an intraday record of $48,297 at roughly 8:30 a.m. ET on Thursday. According to data from industry site CoinDesk, it was last trading up by more than 7% to around $47,913. BNY Mellon, America's oldest bank and a major custody provider, said Thursday that it would begin financing Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. The company will eventually allow crypto assets to pass through the same financial network it currently uses for more traditional holdings like US Treasury bonds and equities. BNY Mellon is proud to be the first global bank to announce plans to provide an integrated service for digital assets. Roman Regelman, CEO of Asset Servicing and Head of Digital at BNY Mellon, said in a statement Thursday, growing client demand for digital assets, maturity of advanced solutions, and improving regulatory clarity presented tremendous opportunity for us to extend our current service offering to this emerging field. BNY is the latest major financial firm to show support for digital currencies. On Wednesday, MasterCard said it would offer support for some cryptocurrencies on its network this year. It also comes after Tesla's announcement Monday that it had purchased $1.5 million worth of Bitcoin and would soon accept it as a form of payment. Bitcoin is up more than 60% since the start of the year after quadrupling in value in 2020. The digital coin's blistering rally has been boosted by increased demand from institutions, according to Bulls, who say that more experienced investors are warming to the cryptocurrency due to the perception that it is a store of value akin to gold. So now the next one is oil giant Shell says its carbon emissions and oil production have peaked. The oil major Royal Dutch Shell on Thursday outlined the details of its near term and long term plans to transition to cleaner energy, saying its oil production and total carbon emissions have already peaked. The announcement comes at a time when the oil and gas industry is under immense pressure to dramatically speed up its plans to pivot away from fossil fuels amid deep concern about the effects of the climate energy. Shell said it aims to reduce net carbon emissions by between 6% to 8% by 2023 when compared to 2016 levels. The target jumps to 20% by 2030, 45% by 2035, and 100% by 2050. The company had previously only committed to reducing its net carbon emissions by at least 3% by 2022, 30% by 2035, and 65% by 2050, using 2016 as a baseline measure. Our accelerated strategy will drive down carbon emissions and will deliver value for our shareholders, our customers, and wider society, Royal Dutch Shell CEO Ben van Beurden said in a statement. We must give our customers the products and services they want and need products that have the lowest environmental impact. At the same time, we will use our established trends to build on a competitive portfolio as we make the transition to be a net zero emissions business in step with society. Shell said it expected its total carbon emission to have peaked in 2018 at 1.7 gigatons per annum and confirmed its total oil production peaked in 2009. Shares of Shell slipped more than 1.1% during morning deals. The United Nations has recognized climate change as a defining issue of our time, warning the impacts of everything from shifting weather patterns to rising sea levels are global in scope and unprecedented in scale. Big oil, meanwhile, has been slow to meaningfully address the climate crisis. The next one is that Fed's Jelly says central bank unlikely to pull back on bond buying pace in 2021. The US central bank is unlikely to pull back on its bond buying stimulus this year, San Francisco Federal Reserve Bank President Mary Daly said in an interview with the Wall Street Journal. Daly told the journal she continued to expect the US economy to pick up speed over the second half of the year as vaccinations against the COVID-19 rule out and allow the economy to recover from the pandemic. She added that it won't yet be time for the central bank to put back on its $120 billion a month in bond buying. For now, for now, we have a policy in good place, Delhi said. If you take the lens of my model outlook, then it's really continuing to purchase at the current place through the end of this year. The next news is St. Petersburg Exchange will expand traded assets ahead of IPO. St. Petersburg Exchange, Russia's major exchange for trading foreign stocks, may expand the range of its financial instruments before an initial public offering possible in 2022, the exchange top executive said in an interview. Russia's second largest exchange saw trading volumes of foreign securities in which it specializes rising to a record high after the central bank had cut rates to an all-time low amid 2020 lockdowns imposed to contain the COVID-19 pandemic. In January, the SPB exchange enjoyed a tenfold year-on-year rise in trading volumes to $36.1 billion, outstripping its main rival, the Moscow exchange, which saw around $30 billion turnover on its stock section. Roman Gornovi, president of NPRTS Association, the main shareholder of SPB Exchange, said that 2021 goal is to bring the number of US stocks on offer to around 2,000, up from 1,523 by the end of 2020. The next one is Joshua Kushner's Thrive Capital raises $2 billion for latest funds. Thrive Capital, owned by entrepreneur Joshua Kushner, said on Thursday it has raised $2 billion for a pair of early and late stage funds, making it the largest fundraise for the venture capital. Thrive was backed online brokerage Robinhood and grocery delivery app Instacart was founded in 2019 for a pair of early and stage late stage funds, making it the largest fundraise for the venture capital firm. Thrive, which has backed online brokerage, Robinhood, and grocery delivery app. Instacart was founded in 2009 by Kushner, the brother of former US President Donald Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner. About $500 million of Thrive's new capital will be reserved for early-stage investment, while the rest will be earmarked for the late-stage best as part of the Thrive 7. The latest fundraise is twice the amount New Year based Thrive raised in 2018 for its sixth large fifth fund, which at the time was its largest. Thrive's fundraise comes in the middle of a boom for high growth tech startups whose valuations have soared, forcing a number of top tier venture capital firms to raise more capital. New investment have become more expensive, even as the value of firms' existing bets have surged. According to the PitchBook data, US venture capital firm raised a record $73.6 billion in 2020. Thank you. That's all for today. Have a nice day.